Today on the Crash Content Podcast, subject matter is a little bit different. We're not crashing into a piece of content, but we are crashing into a piece of the truth. I am not young anymore, per se. I'm not a Zoomer, nor am I a post-Zoomer tiny baby man, which means I'm old. And in my old person wisdom, I can see with perfect clarity why everything sucks now and why it used to be good. And in case you haven't noticed, I've got some bad news, but the internet sucks now. It's not good. It's bad. Not all of it necessarily. There's ways you can use it. There's places you can go where it's still okay. But for the most part, it's bad and it's getting worse. And it's a cancer that's spreading across the internet, which used to be good. So a while ago, I was meditating. I was stewing in my boomer wisdom, and I came up with 3 factors of the new suck internet. 3 changes that have been popularized by social media and similar news sites that have made those sites terrible and are working their way into the way we use the whole internet everywhere. And I'm going to tell you those 3 things in just a moment. First, we'll do some quick introductions. My name is Alex. I'm a boomer, and I'm a genius. Today, I'm also joined by that Frigin guy.
Hello, everyone.
Arcade Nova.
I am afraid that you say you're old because you're 25, right? You're 25?
Around there, yeah.
Okay, well, I am not quite. I feel like I'm young. I'm 20. But I'm afraid that I have little time left in my youth.
You're correct. You do have little time. Everything only gets worse every year. You're also a Zoomer, so you're dumb and your opinions are wrong. We're joined by Martin, MP73.
Yeah, I'm older than you, so fuck. I definitely feel that what you're feeling, Ryan. Like when I was 20, I was like, holy shit, I'm old. And then every year you feel that, and then it never ends. But like at the end of the day, it's like I don't feel that different than I was when I was 20. It's just like you're older. That's my take.
And lastly, we've got Warmagic.
Yeah, I'm 22, so I also feel the encroaching a darkness of being old, I guess. Like more and more I see some like 15-year-old make an opinion, I go, that's so I go, oh man, does that mean I'm old?
Those of you who are on the cusp of the boomer darkness are going to get schooled by the older council of elders here today about how to be mad and how to be right about things that today's kids, they don't know. So here's the three realizations I had, the 3 things. These are all intertwined, so I don't even know what order to go at these. But these are the 3 things I think if we remove them, things would be better. So 1, we got likes and similar reactions, like your Facebook angry reacts, your Twitter likes, etc. Things where you click a button and the person who posted the thing gets a notification and they get a dopamine hit and they're like, oh yeah, someone clicked a button on my thing that communicated nothing to me. That one's got to go. There are some ways you can do it that are better than others, but that's on my list. Then we've got which order? Order doesn't matter. We've got shareable content, which is the retweet button, reblogs, reposts, Facebook share button. Anytime that you can take a thing that someone else made and then you hurl it into your feed, and then now people are clicking the pointless communicate nothing like button, and you're getting notification dopamine hits for something you didn't even do. And everybody's just sharing stuff all the time and clicking the like button on everything, and you're getting addicted to non-communication nothingness. The third thing is reaction GIFs, which is pronounced GIFs. And I know that people who named it are wrong about how to pronounce the thing they made. And here's my beef with those. You go on a big post, a tweet, say a Donald Trump tweet maybe, and just scroll through it and find the people who are conversing and or arguing, and just like wait for it to devolve into people just sending reaction GIFs back and forth, that it's not even clear what they're trying to communicate. That you see it and you're like, okay, this, I don't even know what this has to do with the conversation. The person who posted this probably had something in mind, but I don't know what the hell they were thinking because they didn't bother to say it, and it's not obvious. And the fact that there's a GIF keyboard built in there, and these things are just funny to look at and funny to search for and share, makes people want to post them. I feel like I look through conversations, and it's just a wall of reaction GIFs, and it's like 20% of the things are people actually saying stuff. One of the things these three things all have in common is they incentivize quantity over quality, right? The communicate nothing like button, like I said, dopamine hits, notifications. Shareable content lets you capitalize on that very, very easily by just sending stuff other people made around. And the reaction GIFs, again, very easy to post. People can like them for no reason because they're just little funny, low effort, communicating nothing things. So we have this minutia. What is it? The Metal Gear Solid 1, was that the game that predicted the future? It's that. That's what this podcast is. If you haven't seen that, I'm sorry. We'll link it or something. Probably not. What other points did I want to make? Okay, so yeah. So there's a fourth thing which did not make my list because I think it would be good without these things, and that's just the feed. We didn't used to have feeds. It used to be you would go to a forum. The forum would have a premise. It would have a subject. And then you would discuss the topic there. Now there's no topic. It's just everybody screaming into the void. And you connect with someone, you follow them because you know them for one reason, and then you find out all they do is retweet Yuri pics, or all they do is bitch about politics, or retweet reaction GIFs. But the feed, the premiselessness of congregating on social media with no particular topic, has usefulness and would be a lot better if we eliminate likes, the share button, and reaction GIFs. And that's my spiel. Talk amongst yourselves. No? Nothing? I'm right? Nice quick one today.
I think a lot of those are pretty good points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You've actually kind of convinced me. Like, I really don't have much of an argument otherwise.
I have something I could bring up if you guys are just so astounded that you're speechless. So when I
think, like, I don't know about reaction GIFs, but I do think there is some powerful communication that can be gained by like some sort of image transfer stuff. I'm thinking of like Twitch emotes, but that's really powerful in that culture specifically.
I think, yeah.
Like so I don't know how that differs, but those are like, you can actually communicate a lot effectively through pictures and through like, I'm not as familiar with like political shit posting feeds. I mean, I've seen a few of them, like when I use Twitter for like actually following like tech related stuff, but then because it's Twitter, you end up there's even political shitstorms and like more professional spheres. But
dude, this week on Twitter,
so I'm not as familiar.
These were arguing about what 2 + 2 equals. I'm not kidding. You can look this up. They were trying to make like epistemological arguments about objectivity and whatever. It sucks. It's bad. There were probably reaction GIFs involved. Here's the difference between reaction GIFs as they're used on social media and Twitch emotes. Twitch emotes encapsulate an idea or a mood or a thing, and people use them that way. They're like little shorthand word kind of things. The reaction GIFs, people just go to the GIF keyboard because it's there, and then they don't have something in mind that they want to say, and then they have an image in mind that matches it. They just go to the GIF keyboard because they like GIFs. And especially when they're in an argument and they just want to like, here's a picture of the sassy reality TV show person flipping their hair and walking away, and then they just post that, and the other person posts something else, and it's just it's just because the GIFs are there, they go there to grab something because they don't have anything to say, and it's bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I don't think reaction GIFs or images, are inherently like a bad thing, but I think it's like the default of like you're saying, like the GIF button in particular. Like if you curate your own images, whether they be images that you've saved and you know they resonate with you, or images that you've like even perhaps created on your own, then you know those things can communicate ideas that you cannot communicate with words. So I think those sort of things like should not be abolished. But I totally get what you're saying with like the sassy hair flip celeb thing that you kind of see on Twitter where people just hit the GIF button, which is soulless.
Keep in mind, the theme of this whole problem is quantity over quality. And we've created a system that incentivizes that. So if we remove the GIF keyboard as a feature from these sites, then things would probably get better. Maybe don't remove GIF support. I think it would be better to remove GIF support, honestly. But I think we can compromise and say remove the built-in GIF keyboard, and then people wouldn't be dumb as much. They'd still be dumb.
Is it just that Twitch functions completely differently? Because like,
yes.
I'm trying to imagine Twitch without emotes, and like that's kind of core, and it's also not like you're self-selecting. It's everyone uses the same shit, but it's almost like an extended language that people that adds to your ability to communicate on Twitch specifically. So I guess like conflating that with other sites is like, and GIF keyboards is not the same thing. And since I was so ingrained in that culture for a long time, it's hard for me to sort of see when I think of emotes, and I mean emojis and GIFs. I knew emotes before I knew what emojis were, so it's like I was on Twitch before the emojis and stuff became popular in texting and other sites. So that's where my frame of reference is. So I'm very clouded in like what in that context. So I'm not really sure like this cloud of GIF keywords. So I don't have a strong perspective on it because I don't really know. I do know the forum kind of where you selected your own reaction images and you have your folders of expressing different emotions. I'm familiar with that.
Forums, I think, were the peak. Forums were the best, I think, and they did have support for GIFs, but yeah, they weren't just available there without thought. Twitch emotes, I don't think they are used similarly or serve a similar purpose at all to reaction GIFs. And consider a comment in a Twitch chat compared to like a social media post, where the other problems I have don't apply to Twitch chat comments. Like, you can copy paste. That's really not the same thing as sharing. Because for one thing, it's like Twitch chats are not a feed where something you post on Twitter could blow up and be seen by everyone in the world. Twitch chats is like a group conversation, sort of. The dynamics of it change a lot depending on how big it gets. But it's contained within there. If people copy paste your thing, you don't get, notifications for that for days after. People can't click like on your Twitch message. And people, again, the Twitch emotes encapsulate ideas. So people pick an emote because there was already, they didn't go, I need an emote. Let me go look at the emotes and decide. And even if they do, I think they do a better job. So Twitch emotes I have no problem with at all.
Do you think
this might be an argument for your no like thing? Because I think it might be an argument for your no like thing because you can't like in Twitch and somehow it's more
no, because people are going to keep replying to each other. Here's what happens with the reaction GIFs is we get into some petty argument and I say, yeah, well, you used the wrong UR. And you say, yeah, well, you have an anime avatar. And then I post a reaction GIF that makes no sense at all. It's a complete non sequitur. But in my head, I'm imagining it's telling you off. And then you post a reaction GIF telling me off. And then I post, and then some other body, like the ones that turn into really petty arguments or that are really big, it's like the replies become the likes. At least, so we could maybe change the way replies work, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, so I feel like you could substitute, like the reaction image or the like in your argument with non-descriptive language. Like, it seems like most of your points are trying to discourage lazy communication, in that the person is trying to communicate a feeling, but they are they're either not able to express it, so they turn into the wrong way of expressing of communicating, or they're lazy and they just press the like button or a reaction.
It's more the lazy thing. Here's what I think is happening. We have made communicating fun. We have made communicating air quotes fun, air quotes. So now people just want to post crap because they get feedback from just posting crap, and it's so easy to post crap. So they're posting nothingness because it's easy to do and they're rewarded for it. It's basically where I'm coming from.
So in my days, like before like emojis and stuff were really big, a lot of people like you like how do you feel about like lol or raffle or like really like colloquial like hey, I mean they're the same as like emojis for the most part.
Well,
do they fall into the same like
those I'm fine with. Because here's like anything you have to say, I'm kind of fine with. Emojis are cringe, but they don't have the same problem as some of this stuff. Like if you have to actually type the text, and again, likes is on the list, so you have to actually type the text, and if you can't get just constant reinforcement notifications of people clicking a button on a thing that you typed, then like it needs to be about what's being communicated. And little shorthand can be useful for communicating things. Even if someone just says lol, tinchar, then whatever. Like they're saying they liked it, and because they had to actually type that instead of clicking a button, they won't do it as much. And if you posted a thread and if you made a post and it got 1,000 likes, you're like, ooh, notifications all day, people like my thing. But if you make a thread and like 1,000 people reply lol to it or good post, you'd be like, these people suck and I hate them and I hope they get moderated because they're screwing up my thread with all this nothingness. And the reason people don't do that is because they know. They'll click the like button because getting 1,000 likes is something that's fun that everyone wants. But 1,000 replies saying, I like this, good, cool, lol, no one wants that. So people are less likely to communicate nothing if they actually have to communicate it.
I don't think the images thing is much as like, okay, so the thing about like a reaction GIF or image or something, those things are not a replacement for actual discussion. Those have a different purpose. So I think if you were to remove like say the GIF button, you would have people who would instead actually try and make some sort of comment or add to the matter. But I think for the most part, those people would just go away. Like I don't necessarily think they would be replaced with like or they wouldn't necessarily add to the discussion if there were no images at all. I think images are better work as like, on message boards, you don't just use an image. Usually you have an image with text. And I think with that adds, that communicates more. Maybe not as, it's usually not as much of a part of the discussion. It's usually just more of a thing of expression, or at least that's generally how I use it, or conceive it. But I mean, it can lend to better explain your whatever you're talking about. But
yeah, so the key there is a shift towards quality over quantity, right? Don't make it so easy to do, don't make it so easily rewarded, and then people will be more responsible with their use. Which is what happens on forums, I believe.
What do you guys think about having a minimum character limit to post something? Sort of like what Twitter does, but in verse, like, oh, you have to have, at least 10 characters to be saying something. So. Well,
I mean, I made a joke about this a minute ago, but people just type tinchar, or people just type, they just add like like I'm typing this sentence to meet the character limit at the bottom, so I think it does nothing. It's kind of funny, but it does nothing.
Well, even if it even remotely discourages people from just typing, like lol or something like that. Like even if it drops it by like, 1% fewer people are doing this, still 1% fewer people doing it.
True. Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's a thing on forums, and I think forums are the peak. So they're doing it fine. I wouldn't touch what they're doing. One other thing. So when it comes to the like button and the angry react, which those are hilarious and they're fun to use, but they're too fun to use and they're too easy to use. The last time I used Facebook, I was a big fan of the angry react. It's been a long time. But compare that to what's happening in Discord. Because reactions in Discord, I think, are fine. And the difference is you don't get notifications for them, and Discord is happening in a group conversation in a server where it's like, again, it's not like this world stage that most social media is. So on social media, there's almost like an obligation to like click the like button on things you like and like send the person who posted it that hit. I don't see that happening on Discord. Mostly people the reaction images, the reaction buttons on Discord are used in a way that's sort of closer to what Twitch emotes are like. It's like shifted in that direction, away from the pointless nothingness. They usually communicate something, they're usually funny, and they don't seem to have the same problem of incentivizing quantity over quality. So I think Discord is, I think not getting a notification for it and the fact that it's in a group message instead of the world stage are the big differences there. Like if we're going to have a world stage, we need different rules.
Yeah, because with Discord, you're not, the poster doesn't get anything from reactions, and the person reacting doesn't get anything from the reactions. It's just, oh, I'm going to add my own little flavor onto this post. You're not posting it just to have a reaction. You're doing it because you genuinely thought, oh, this was funny, or I like this, or I didn't. Like, you're genuinely sharing your opinion as the reason why you're adding reactions to it versus just like, oh, I'm liking this because I'm friends with this person. I'm going to like everything that they do.
That's a big one, yeah.
Dopamine like drugs like hit stuff on Discord where it's like, yeah, I want this person to feel good about posting this. I've definitely done that sort of incentivized. Where it's like they posted some shit I like, but no one reacted, and it's like an hour ago, but I still will go up and I'm like, I got to react to that. That was some, or like or maybe you'll even reply to them because you liked it and no one else responded. I don't know if that's different though.
Well, I think it's about the quantity, and that seems kind of communicative, and it's within a group of people, like a set group that you're in, as opposed to just everybody's all in one place. And there's just a lot less of that going on. I mean, I feel like I look back on when I used Twitter and cringe really hard, and I think a lot of what I was doing was, complaining or speaking about everyday life, but trying to be like quirky and funny and weird in my whatever random minutia I was talking about. And I think a lot of people clicked like on stuff, and their interpretation of the nonsense I wrote was not what I was thinking when I wrote it, but they don't care. People will just click the button. They just will.
So for an example, is like, I don't know, I sent you that message where it's like in chess, like I saw that it was funny for an anime joke. There's like a loli attack, and then apparently some dude they had at chess.com for sponsoring their shit. They had an anime YouTuber chess tournament. So one of those people found that same joke, and then they made it like a AOE Twitter tweet, and it blew up because it's like a generally funny thing. And it's like, I don't know, is that bad versus like making an AOE joke versus like pointing it out to a friend because you saw the same thing? What's the difference in the dynamic there?
Well, that particular example, probably not that bad. That's just kind of like, hey, here's a joke, and a lot of people like the joke, so it spread. But when you play this out repeatedly, constantly, over and over on the world stage, on the public social media, ultimately it incentivizes just worse posts that communicate less. That one's not really an example of that. That's okay. But we can't. The human race is not responsible enough to do this right. So we need safeguards in place.
So is the key difference like between Twitter or like the social media and Discord kind of like the virtue signaling kind of aspect of like the fact that that you're trying to like project a persona that anybody else can rate and judge as favorably. I can't pronounce words.
Favorable.
Whatever.
Flavorful. Anyone can
flavorful. No, that's it. Anyway, but the point being, people can on Twitter, someone can find your post and be like, yes, I judge this guy a fine moral character for saying X. While on Discord, it's just like people or like it's just a smaller community. So like you're less inclined to like, I don't know,
the way it
make a disingenuous opinion.
The way it plays out in Discords and forums and like insular communities like that, I think you do get you might have some virtue signaling. You might have some cliques that are they might like mock the new people a little bit or whatever, but it's just exponentialified on what I guess I have now coined the world stage, where on especially Twitter, but on a public social media platform, there is a huge incentive to pander and virtue signal and echo chamber and whatnot, because you get fame and dopamine hits for that. And in an insular community, it's just there's so much less of that, less of those potential like rewards that are actually bad rewards to happen. I think it's just much less of a problem when it's in an insular community.
Do you think?
I think. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you think that these changes are necessary? Like, do you think that there is an inherent problem with like the world stage, sort of Twitter.com? Like, would we even benefit from these changes? Because these forums you're talking about, like the forums are already this way, and they haven't really changed. So, like, is there anything to be gained from changing these things?
I think there is, like, I think part of what you're asking is it worth having a world stage at all and having like a totally publicly accessible feed where everyone is discussing everything as opposed to insular communities? Is that like part of your question? Is that in there?
Well, yeah, but kind of.
Because when I'm thinking like with these rules, I'm thinking if we're gonna have a world stage, we got to remove this stuff to make people use it in like a useful, proper way. Basically, because there's just too much. There's too much going on. There's too much incentive. The stakes are too high. You can get too big. You can get too rewarded for posting crap because everyone's all in one place and everyone's on there 24/7. So, but if people use the world stage, the totally public social media with no premise like a forum would have, responsibly and properly, I do think there are benefits to that. And occasionally you can find someone who uses Twitter well. I've been off Twitter for a long time, so I can't like think of a handy example. I don't look at there much. But it's useful. It's useful for getting the word out about things. I mean, I was on Twitter in like 2009, before they had media. There were no images, there were no videos, there was certainly not a GIF keyboard. And I used it via text on a dumb phone. So I didn't get notifications for, they called them favorites at the time, and I feel like it was better. Also, the last couple of years that I used Twitter, I turned off retweets for everyone I followed except for like 2 people, because no one can use it responsibly, and it became 10 times more usable. So I was able to eliminate one of my things. I eliminated shared content, and my feed, my window into it was fantastic, or much better.
So I think this gets into like the whole anonymity. I can't actually pronounce anonymity. Yeah, anonymousness. That's anonymousness. That's the real word when you can't pronounce it. Because like it's the stakes things. Because at global scale Twitter, all of a sudden now, like if you get like pitchforked and mobbed, that could matter because it's associated with your real identity. And so now there are high stakes encouraged to just conform strongly with whatever the mob thinks or the mass thinks. And whereas in the past with forums or with small groups, you actually as an individual did have a lot of power. Like even if ever you disagreed with all the, like if there was like a strong bullying sort of in-group culture, I mean, being the person that always like never, I would always fight that or like sort of. And it would, and that usually went a few ways. Like either they end up fighting with you for a little bit, you have a couple of arguments, and then everyone gets along with you after that, or like you just leave. And that's usually resolved pretty well, like in small group, conformist culture kind of thing. You either fight them and it works out, and you end up understanding you have different opinions but still being friends, or like maybe they're just it just goes where like you'll never accept it, so you just end up getting either ousted or you leave yourself. But I would say more often than not, actually, I found that you end up staying in the group and just agreeing to disagree about the things you disagree with, and so I feel like the individual does have some power to sort of fight the group strength there. Whereas like on a public stage where it's just like a mass opinion, you can't disagree. You don't have a power as an individual to have a discussion and disagree. You can't do that. With a small group, you actually can have those discussions. And even though sometimes you get ousted, I actually found like a lot of the time you didn't, and you just had good discussions and you ended up having those valuable conversations because of the scale was smaller and maybe because of the dynamics of these platforms like forums versus Twitter. Maybe if people are anonymous, maybe that wouldn't solve the problem. Maybe I'm mixing up things. Maybe it's just the scale. But like certainly there's strong disincentive to even try to voice any objection. There's like very, very high stakes to making any sort of objection. Whereas forums, there's really no stakes. You just sort of, well, this is what I think. Unless you just really, 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 I do think people that were lacking community might have ended up conforming with ideas because they just had nothing, and so the forum was their only place. So they felt like if they lost that one forum, but my experience, but I guess I'm an incredibly disagreeable person, so my experience might be different than the average. So I would always just sort of like, if I disagreed, I disagreed, and if you kicked me out, if I wasn't part of that group, I wasn't part of that group. So I actually don't know the average experience. Maybe the small community is worse for some people, but I just feel like an individual in a small group can make a change, whereas on Twitter you really can't. Like I don't think one person has the ability to talk to everyone and somehow have a conversation that's going to change things. Whereas small forums, I actually did that a lot, and it was able to. I mean, not always, but a lot of the times it did work out. So it's the scale of it.
So you've mentioned two things, and I think they are two distinct things. One is anonymousness, anonymity, and the other is small groups. So yes, I think there's more at stake when it's your real name. When you're a blue check mark, you're an NPC. You're doomed to never being honest or whatever. Well, I don't know, right? I think that's a thing. Then I also think with forums, it is easier to just disagree with the group because you don't get swarmed. Because there's not a quantity over quality dynamic going on. So people you won't just get a ton of hate coming in. Because for one thing, like mods would probably jump in if a whole thread became about people just dogpiling some guy with making fun with just attacks, not even really responding to them, but posting reaction gifs about you so stupid, man, or whatever, like these nothingness replies. And I mean, I've lurked on forums where like there's some people on there that are just known to disagree with, like the forum has a general consensus on some topic or whatever, and there's these one or two guys that are just known for being the people who disagree, but they've stuck around for a long time, so these people know these guys, and they know when it comes up, these guys are going to come in, they're going to say no, it's the opposite. Some people are going to make fun of them a little bit, and like everybody's fine with it. It's established now, but they are a part of the community. So yeah, anonymousness, small groups, yeah.
On the subject of anonymousifying yourself, do you think that like verified accounts and blue check mark and all that, do you think that's bad for the websites? Just insofar as like that's a good point. Like if you have a opinion that differs from everybody else's, if you're just anonymous account, who cares? You can speak your mind and it's fine. But if that's tied to your real name and your real identity, and that has real world consequences, that might sort of discourage you from speaking your mind and being honest.
So
when you know that everyone's watching.
This is why I prefer. Okay, so I'm curious about Alex's opinion on the upvote of Reddit.com, because so the major differences between Reddit and like 4chan or any other similar message board is that Reddit gives you, the upvote downvote system that allows like the people who are consuming the content, they are now able to judge whether this post is good or bad. And when you have something like on 4chan where it's just a wall of ideas, there is no like
rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, the only thing that kicks a post off is if it doesn't once another post is added onto like a board, then the last post, like the least discussed post falls off. Yeah. So there is no like judgment of anyone can have an idea and it'll exist among this wall of other ideas. There is no, like I don't know. I just like what do you think about like upvotes and all that?
So I have we'll get into Reddit. Reddit is a whole thing. So let's go ahead and do that. Real quick response to what Eric said. I think blue check marks, verification using your real name, I think that has a place. I think if the World Forum was good, then having that would be a good thing. But right now, the World Forum is bad. And so people are just making fools of themselves under their real name, or are afraid of making fools of themselves under their real name, and it's a shit show. So I think that has a place in a better system. Now, Reddit. So, with the upvote downvote system, what Reddit, you can go to a subreddit and just look at the top posts and find out what that community thinks. This has usefulness and this has misapplications. Some subreddits literally have in the name a thing that you have to agree with. Like the name of the subreddit is an opinion. I don't have any examples handy. If I did, I wouldn't name them anyway. I'm not here to call out subreddits. I'm just calling out all of them. And then you can go there and you can see like nuanced opinions get pushed to the bottom. Opinions that agree with the premise get pushed to the top. And that can be a problem. I think on smaller subreddits, I would say there's more room for like discussion. On bigger subreddits, not so much, because you get downvoted and upvoted, more quickly based on how basically you adhere to the group opinion. Here's what I think Reddit is good for. If there's a subreddit that's based around dispersing information, which there was one that I was on, Martin's familiar with this one as well, for a mobile game we played that would run events where like every month there's an event that runs for 2 weeks or whatever. And there's like, here's the post about this month's event. Here's what type of event it is. Here's what's the prize is. Here's what's at stake. And then other than that, it was like, I don't know, fan art and just trivial stuff that was fine. So those are good. Subreddits for dispensing information. Also, more generally, I think Reddit is good if you are at step 0 of being interested in a thing. You just heard about this thing and you want to know what's the base entry level knowledge. Like what hardware should I buy to play this game? Or what's the first things you would need to know that you don't know yet at the moment you find out you're interested. Reddit is great for moving people from step 0 to step 1 with a hobby. But the problem with the upvote downvote system is Reddits will gravitate towards step 1 no matter what step you're on. If you're step 10, because you've been doing this hobby for a long time and you're knowledgeable about it and stuff, there are more people that are at step 1 because there's always more people at the bottom of anything that takes, time and energy to get knowledgeable at and get good at. So there's always going to be less people with more informed opinions. There's always going to be mob rule with like the basic opinions. And so the prevalent view on subreddits is always going to be the base entry level opinion. I find that. And if you need that, or if you just want to go to a community and see, what's up with these people? Like, what do they think generally? You have more people at the bottom of the entry level, experience with this thing. There's more of them, so they control the upvote downvotes. So the prominent view for hobby subreddits is always going to be basic, I think.
On the subject of Reddit, be sure to visit r/Crash Content Podcast.
That's
coming to you by the time this episode releases.
Oh God, no! Don't. I'm downvoting everything.
Do it. I don't care.
Who thinks things about Reddit? Anybody?
I like the fact that you have to pay money in order to react to posts with the awards.
Yeah, that lends them more weight. Yeah,
you have to really like something if you're willing to be like, okay, here's 50 cents to like this thing. Or, if you get a big enough award, then you can in turn give other awards out. But I think that's interesting, having a paywall. Like, imagine if Twitter, you have to have like a paid account, and every time you like something, it's like a cent or two. You're not going to like it stuff nonstop if it's not free, you know what I mean? So I'm not sure exactly where the appropriate places to implement that would be, like which websites and what features of which websites, but maybe just a sprinkle more of that here and there on like Twitter or Facebook could help some of these issues. Having that.
My only experience with Reddit is that mobile game, and then actually another mobile game. And it was good for like, hey, how do you play this? What do you need to do? What do you need to get started? There's like two subreddits that were good for that. I don't really know what larger Reddit
Well,
is like.
the
I've never been
subreddits that
on larger
everybody
Reddit.
goes
I've
on,
literally
like
only
Reddit,
participated in 2
where
subreddits.
it just appeals to everyone. Like anybody could go on there and read and get a kick out of what's going on. The upvotes incentivize like cringe meme speak. Like, oh, I did it. I said the meme. Oh, to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what like lowest common denominator appeal Reddit is like, I would say.
I kind of wish they would get rid of up and down votes on comments. Like, who cares about comments?
Nested comments suck for discussion too. It's just a pain to read.
Yeah,
like, it's good for the first couple levels, but once you're actually talking
like
to somebody,
12 in, you're like, oh my god,
it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
that's real bad.
So Reddit's comment section sucks.
Reddit works. Reddit like theoretically sounds like a good system.
Yeah,
but regardless, it's always just gonna bump the most popular ideas to the top and bury everything else. And that also be like if it were just upvote and downvote, like if this system worked purely in, I think one of the problems with it also comes back to sort of what Alex is saying, like the whole like Discord reaction thing. Like you don't get anything from that. But the thing is, every time somebody upvotes your post, it's not just to determine where it's going to line against the other post. It also gives you like karma, which then shows up on your.
I don't like that either.
So then you have like these Reddit accounts that are just regurgitating like images and ideas and like those like memes and shit that have been known on Reddit for years. Like it's the same people like recycle the same shit over and over again.
Reposts.
Yeah, just for karma. So it's like you get that sort of thing on Reddit, and that obviously sucks.
I just now realized this, but Reddit took my problem with reaction GIFs, and they caused that problem to also be a problem on just things people type with the karma thing. Because it's like, oh, I said the meme, I did it, I said the meme, haha. And then now everyone who says the meme gets karma. Whereas without the karma system, then people don't say the meme as much all the time, all over the place. So yeah, Reddit, there's certain, it totally depends on the subreddit. Certain subject matter, certain community sizes work really well on Reddit. Then problems emerge with others. But
yeah, I think it's the more niche it is, the better it works with like
smaller groups.
Ultimately, this whole conversation just comes down to small communities good, generic everything community bad.
Well, generic everything communities need controls.
Yeah, the aspect of Reddit that is appealing is the fact that you have to at least categorize your like comment within a subreddit. You can't just like post to your profile like you can in Twitter or something.
Well, I think you can, but like people won't see it unless they specifically follow you,
which is not really.
They've pushed Reddit like even closer to like normie social media. It's like Reddit is.
Yeah, slowly but steadily turning into that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think it has some good ideas, but they're just trying to normalize it. They're trying to popularize it as much as they can at this point, and it's suffering from that.
I think Reddit is a weird in between. It's a weird blend of social media and forum culture. It's a very interesting and unique kind of formula they have, which I think even when it's bad, a lot of the time it's not really that bad. And when it's good, it can be really good. So it's like, it's okay. I'm okay with Reddit. It's all right.
I think a lot of the problems with like both Reddit and like the other social media we're talking about is like the gamification of
yep
likes and stuff, and like that it's just like the company is basically recognizing that like you to get more users, they're just going to try and like make it as dopamine like inducing as possible to post something.
And that's exactly why outrage is the greatest thing for them. Outrage incentivizes use a ton, and this is no new idea. You know, there's other boomers, more booming boomers than me have like written articles for their job about this. But yeah, it's the outrage machine works really well with the quantity over quality machine.
This is a classic strong argument against standard like core hard price-based fair capitalism sort of thing, where it's like where the argument against, well, if people pay the price, then that is a fair transaction. But in reality, what makes the most money is exploiting human tendencies that are actually against people's best will, which comes to like really interesting philosophical questions where it's like, although all individuals are opting into these destructive behaviors, so can you really, but like you can't expect people to not do it. So it's like it becomes like a free will challenge where it's like, well, if it's maximizing profit to the biggest extent possible and people are opting in to do that, and people are, so that it is like a fair transaction, but at the end of the day the outcome might be worse. Is that like moralistically wrong to do that? It's like selling drugs or something, or selling really doing it, or gambling, or doing anything that's exploiting people's tendencies to make decisions that are self-destructive because you know they will opt into them, and you're just exploiting that. Or I guess like even with gacha games is the same thing. It's like you're exploiting certain people that will be willing to pay exorbitant amounts of money that's probably not helpful for themselves. I mean, I can't say for all, maybe for some of those people it is, but certainly I would not expect in most cases it's not destructive. And so with likes and all this, it's like a dopamine hit. It's like a drug. It's like something that they are opting into it. They could not do that, but structurally everyone starts doing it, and then it becomes a trap because it's like you almost can't not do it. So it's even
lifts are heroin. I agree.
Are you kind of saying like the modern like social media is just like, it's kind of like an inevitable result of capitalizing human tendency? Is that what you're trying, like?
Yeah, yes, I think it's
byproduct of your argument.
Yeah, it's the byproduct of when you always have a profit incentives. What goes like, it's not actually the most value possible, because what makes more profit is actually exploiting egregious human tendencies to like overstretch themselves in certain directions. Like that's why marketing exists. You're not like, people don't like when you say, well, people bought it. Well, no, marketing wouldn't exist if people are only buying what's best for them. You have to make it seem like something that really is valuable for them, and usually it takes some sort of pushing them over the edge, which is framing it in a way that makes them make a decision. And now usually that's not always bad, but because that dynamic does exist, you can't just pretend like that isn't going on. And because you're always pushing people to sort of like limited time sales for like is like, or any of these classic marketing, like you fake like false scarcity and all of these other sorts of tricks that are just psychological tricks to exploit people into making decisions. So actually what isn't producing the most human value isn't what's rewarded. Doing things that get people to spend more money, regardless of whether it's producing more or less value, is what's rewarded. And so that's the problem. Is it's not that like producing value is rewarded. It's like, it turns out people will often spend more money on things that do not add value to their lives, and will reward behaviors that do not add value more than they will if you just purely added value without putting some sort of marketing spin on it, or exploiting human psychology is what all of this leads to. Okay. I guess that. Sorry,
I'll bite on this comparison. I think you look at what the U.S., the greatest country in the history of countries, on paper is trying to do. As I understand it, you could argue that they are or aren't doing a very good job right now. Which is like, the free market has a lot of advantages. It does a lot of things right. It naturally handles a lot of things pretty well. But if you play it out to the extreme, you wind up with a lot of problems. So let's start with the free market, and then let's play this tug of war game where we regulate it as necessary to allow the pros to exist and mitigate the cons. That's my understanding of the American strategy. And that's what I oh God, who's the greatest politician ever? The Ghandi of the internet. That's what I'm proposing we do here today.
Yeah, that famous politician Ghandi.
Is let's start with well, he's a guy. I'm a guy. we're the smartest guys. Take human tendency. Let the posts, the free market of posts, exist. But then, if people want to add a GIF keyboard into their website, Ghandi lays the smackdown on them and doesn't let them do that, because at that point they're exploiting the human psychology, and it's bad. So yes, what you were saying is exactly right and applies to this, and I solved politics and human psychology today.
I mean, it all comes down to the fact that we still have our dumb caveman brains and are pretty instinctual about a lot of stuff, and that's where you sort of get into a loop of either wasting your time with social media stuff that does not matter and that doesn't generate any real content value or conversation, or capitalism where they take all your money because we don't understand numbers and lose money at the casino. That's our dumb lizard brains are still kind of rattling around back there, and pure free market anything doesn't work unless everyone is completely logical robots, which we're not, and we can't really help that.
I mean, it definitely works pretty well to an extent. I don't actually know of anything that works better raw. Raw, that's probably better than raw something you could come up with.
Yeah.
But so it's but I feel like you just need to monitor it, and when certain things get out of hand, take notice and try to resolve issues. Because I think the classic thought experience I always think of is you're stranded on an island. There's 20 people, and one person has the ability to create infinite food. What's morally right for that person to ask of other people to provide that food? Should he ask nothing and just give the food? Should he say, I want all of the stuff that you have that I don't have for my infinite food? There isn't a correct answer there. That person, should he make them, treat them horribly and I have the food, and rule over them because he has infinite food? There's not a correct answer for that. What that person should do. And actually, with the internet, we actually have mass distribution to where actually that actual thought experience comes up all the time. Where it's if somebody has an online product that they could give to everybody, and everybody wants it, they can kind of charge whatever they want. And there's not direct, I mean, there is competition in places, but because you have the phenomenon of just free mass widespread distribution, you have the argument of is it really right to charge the most possible to maximize profit? Because of what that ends up doing is it might actually have some downstream effects. Maybe the most profitable thing is to charge a really high price, and you use mass appeal to get people to view your shit, but then what you actually sell is a very high quote unquote premium product, which what that ends up being is then the only people that can actually purchase things are people that already have a lot of money or maybe doing business to business transactions. And so this creates this could spiral out of control where the optimal behavior of say entrepreneurial traits are always just going to target business or high quality market. It becomes not profitable to target certain classes of people. So the market by itself is only just going to improve the quality of life for what is optimal to target products to.
Okay, let me pull it back here because I lost the plot. with what you're saying is the way that pertains to fixing the internet, that the fat cats that run the sites will give us GIF keyboards and likes and retweets, and because they know it's bad for us and they don't care, and that way they make more money because we see more ads. Where's the analogy play at this point?
The analogy is that it's not actually a specific, it's a general that whatever ends up being most profitable is not necessarily going to be valuable to most people. It might end up whatever is the best thing, the optimal decision as a business might simply only affect one class of people or negatively or positively. And it's not actually correlated with any sort of public good. It's just whatever it is what gets affected. And maybe it does add value to certain people like advertisers, or it could be right. It could be anything. That's the thing. It's whatever ends up being profitable, whatever and this is whether it's humans defining those decisions or computers. I actually don't think that's that much different. You're just doing whatever makes the most money, and either a human does it well or a computer. I actually don't think that's a big deal who's making the decision. The point is like it's like the game theory thing where however the rules play out, like there are winners and losers, and we're optimizing towards just like users and profit incentives, and we don't like what that actually does isn't correlated with any like necessarily value to people. It could be, and it could isolate where you have different classes being affected differently, and if you don't keep a check on that, it will just go uncontrolled. It could just go like,
if you let natural systems play out to their extreme, I think it's usually bad. So you want to, that's why I like the idea of you start with the natural system, but then you kind of moderate it. So you don't have a fully man-made system, you don't have a fully natural system, you're like balancing the two.
Well, ideally, you're optimizing a social media platform towards like discussion, like the most useful or well-made discussion. Like you're not optimizing. Like, I mean, I believe that like probably the most productive discussions are small groups instead of, I don't know, like because if you get like plus a certain number of people, you get mob mentality and all kinds of like psychological factors that limit the productivity of discussion. But so if like a social media platform, the idea is that the goal of like Twitter is not necessarily to promote like discussion that will like further ideology or like the thought process of people. It's to instead incentivize profit for Twitter, which probably means like,
and the discussion could be about anything as long as people are using Twitter a lot.
And that's why I think that's why a lot of these things are never going to change on your list, just because things like, oh yeah, getting lots of likes and getting notifications that, oh, your post got a bunch of likes, that gets you going back on the site and spending more time there.
And it gets me going.
So it's in these sites' best interest to gamify it and get it. Oh, who can make the best post that gets the most likes? And everyone keeps trying harder and harder to just for engagement, even if it's filler nothing. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's being said. It matters how much, because that's how you get people to get the ads, and that's how you get people spending more time like on the apps and on the website and looking at those ads and getting that ad money. I think this is sort of like a symptomatic of any time you've got a website where it's free to sign up for it. That's kind of going to happen, where the only way they make money is by giving you ads and trying to get you to spend as much time on their site looking at those ads as they possibly can.
The phrase is, if you don't pay for the product, you are the product. Is something I've heard people say. So the websites are selling you to advertisers, and that kind of raises the question for me: what if none of these sites had an ad-based business model, and they all stayed afloat via donations or paid memberships? I think people would use them a lot. Well, it would have to be paid memberships for something big like Twitter. People would probably use them a lot less and a lot better, I would think.
Yeah, imagine Twitter, but there's no ads, and it costs you like, I don't know, like $1.50 a month, something like that. Like, that would probably make a drastic difference in the quality of Twitter content.
But then you get into like a situation where, like, well, the fact that's behind the paywall, isn't that kind of, I don't actually have this opinion, but isn't that the theoretical argument is that it's limiting the discussion by like people that can't pay the money can't join the conversation.
So let's wipe that out.
Well, hold on one second. Go ahead. So like the idea is like this is like a common like a thing that I see in a lot of like capitalist arguments about democratizing X, like making it available to as many people as possible. And that's like probably the like, if you were to get like a Twitter exec saying, oh, well, why don't you switch to a membership system because then maybe you'll get more responsible users, they'd probably say, well, then you wouldn't get as many users and thus like you kind of
but it's also no longer public, which changes what the thing is.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people who cry free speech about what they can say online, the best point there, I think, is that the conversation is online now. Everybody's there. This is overwhelmingly how people communicate with each other and how ideas get out. So it matters that they're owned by companies that have control over them. And I've heard people float the idea that these sites should be like public utilities, right? Like let's make it a tax thing. That's how Twitter exists. Is there's no ads.
Oh God, that sounds like a nightmare.
And I think that I don't know because that's unrealistic.
Taxing Twitter?
Well, no. Funding Twitter
like
with
it's
tax
funded
dollars.
by tax money.
The government owns Twitter.
Yeah.
This is never going to happen. But
Well, it happened in China, didn't it?
well, yeah, but that's the regime would have to fall. Or I don't know. Like, but that raises the question: if the government was running the site, so they have no profit motive. There's no ads, so there's also no profit motive. Would they have likes and shares and stuff? I mean, they would probably think the shares are useful. They're all dumber than me. They don't get it.
Would it be funded through, like, would it be taking funds that already exist, or would it be adding to the amount of taxes you'd have to pay?
That's getting too realistic.
That's for the sake of this hypothetical. Let's pretend that
I'm just saying, like, if
we cut Medicaid and trade it for Twitter. That's how.
Yeah.
The problem with this hypothetical, as is the problem in China, is that it gives too much like control to the government, and there's always going to be an incentive.
I get the feeling if like the government was running Twitter, people would be a bit more hesitant to say some certain things.
How fun would it be if the government like launched their own social media platform and like this is gonna be the one for the people and like but the other ones still exist. How funny would it be to see what goes on there? 'Cause it'd probably be really bad.
See, the positives of capitalism is that with a profit incentive, you usually get like some level like. There's a certain extent where products will become like better for people in general because that is where the profit motive is. But the main problem is when it steps over that line and it hits the point where you it's more profitable to kind of do something that is not not helping out the general populace. And it just
like what's in the best interest of making money does not line up with what's in the best interest of the public discourse.
But if it was a government-owned thing, like if it was like a China or like a, I don't know, some government-owned thing, then it could easily the like social media could change toward like the goal of the social media controller could be like power or like control over like political.
Yeah, there's no way to do that without mitigating the ethical concerns.
Yeah.
If you private or if you governmentatize all forms of online communication, which you definitely shouldn't do.
I wonder if you could run it like the post office is like politically entirely neutral and they sort of operate for profit, but like
post office is getting fucked right now.
Yeah, I know.
All right, politics sucks. Politics, and there's. One last topic. We've been going for about an hour, so I think, I'll bring this up and I'll see where we go from here. So I found this meme because a screenshot of a post is a meme in the modern era. I'm dropping it in Discord and I'll read it out loud for our many, many thousands of listeners who are not watching the video. It says, Twitter is 90% someone imagining a guy, tricking themselves into believing that guy exists, and then getting mad about it. And I have observed this to be true with echo chambers. Reddit is great for this, or if you go into an echo chamber on Twitter, I'm not familiar enough with Facebook to even know, but like people, a lot of what insular communities do is they spend time telling each other what the people who disagree with them are like, and then like forming their opinions on that basis rather than on anything that they have experienced firsthand. About like, oh, well, I ran into a person who thinks this and I think it's not okay. It's more like those other guys. The people who don't, whether it's political often, or it could be anything else. But like, the people who disagree with us, they think all this dumb, silly stuff. And it's like, not really. When you go look at what they're saying, it's not really that. So the ability to conjure up an ideal that you want to be mad about. That's a problem. Yeah, that's bad. And it happens.
Yeah, and I know that, like, I remember this was starting to become a problem. Someone, like, found out, like, behind the scenes, like, some code stuff from Facebook that they were actively going out of their way to, like, promote posts and share stuff with you that would, like, align with your various ideology politically or whatever. And they were purposely suppressing posts that were disagreed. So they were, like, artificially making it happen even faster, the echo chambers. So I think the social media and a lot of the sites, I'm sure, are also doing it behind the scenes where they actively promote stuff that you will agree with, just because that will kind of keep you in that area for longer.
They definitely do. They show you things you've been known to engage with or like before, and try not to show you other stuff. Which reminds me of another thing, because this
another website,
YouTube, right? The YouTube algorithm. I didn't even think about ranting about this today.
Oh, yeah.
but
my God, yeah.
YouTube used to be good. So I was very early on YouTube, probably 2005, which would be like the first year, but definitely by 2007 I was using it a lot. And it used to be so different. And there was a sweet spot, maybe around 2010, before what everyone now refers to as the algorithm, which I love because everything a computer does is an algorithm. But it used to be like your YouTube homepage could be very structured around friend activity. And I say friend because they used to have a friend feature, which was retired because it's redundant with subscriptions. But accounts that you friended or subscribed to, your people, you could see, they could turn it off if they wanted, but you could see when they liked a video and stuff like that. And that made it a lot easier to find new stuff before there was the algorithm that just says, oh, you usually like to watch this stuff at this time of day. So everything is hyper personalized based on your tendencies. Related videos used to be much more just videos related to this one, based on tags and based on people clicking on them. Now I feel like all YouTube does is it just shows me a bunch of stuff I've already seen and I can't find new things. I don't even like the stuff I watch. I just can't find new stuff because they squelched it. So fuck that. That's not good.
Yeah, most of this relates to the general idea that it's easier to agree with something that you already know about than to seek a new experience and learn about something. And it's that tendency that YouTube and a lot of these algorithmic advertising are catering to and trying to encourage in their users. They want you just to click on videos that are related to the same thing over and over and over and over again.
They don't have any incentive in what the videos are. They just want you to click on videos.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to send things that are close to what you've already sent, which has the unintended side effect, which we're talking about. But there isn't an incentive for them to have you see the same things. The only incentive is for them to have you on the site and continuously watching things. And it's just a side effect that just happens to be the same things you already like is something because you already like it. There's a very high probability that you'll like. There's a higher probability that you will like something you've already liked than something random.
Because it takes less mental energy to stay engaged with the same subject.
And not even that, just because they have proof, they have profile on you that you like this type of thing, and it's just very you'll like this other thing. I think one sort of approach that could maybe deal with this is have a random batting thing where they throw some other shit in there. They still keep maybe 60-70% of the same shit, but then you have some sort of random shots in the dark for everybody that they just recommend something totally unrelated, and they try this mix in stuff that's high probability and still have that high up on the list, but also mix in some sort of low probability to like stuff somehow.
They do that though. They do that with the extremely lowest common denominator appeal videos that all the comments are, let's be honest, you didn't search for this. They'll show you epic kickflip over a building or cat laser pointer, whatever. The things that they know everybody will like. But you know,
But not even that. Like actually, stuff that you don't know. Like have that as a profile. Like they need to have different category profiles. Like have like random, like totally random, low popularity profile. They have that in the type of things they will recommend everybody as a random. They have like generally accepted things as a category, but then still have like 60%. But then have 60% of still.
Videos, right?
Well,
so it's like this person likes this type of video. They've never heard of this bubble of this type of videos. Let's throw them one of those. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like 60% of the recommendations, or like 70, whatever, is like what you already get, just like stuff that's like really close to what you like. But then have like different profiles. Think of it like a probability, like just a stock portfolio or something of like other ideas they'll recommend, like maybe 20% just generally popular things, but then have like 20% that's like totally random stuff they'll just to maybe potentially, and say it's like the expanding viewpoints recommendations that's just pretty random, like, and like maybe that doesn't get a lot of yield, but it at least will add some stuff that's like there's some chance that you might end up clicking this random thing and then getting new ideas, like something like that. I actually have thought about approaching this for like how I watch new shows. It's like most of what I watch is I'm gonna sample from the high probability, quote unquote, well respected, everybody likes these shows. But then maybe I'll have like some percent that's like stuff that I think I might like that's different from what everybody likes. And then third, maybe just something totally random because I don't know. Because if I don't sample outside of what is already agreed upon, you can never actually know. You can't know. You're just sort of this is actually the same problem that's the in-group constructing what the out-group exists. You actually don't know what the things that are outside of your scope are.
Possible to even find now. One thing that was lost with losing friend activity is like, what would make me interested in a video is like, oh, this guy liked this video, and I know like the kind of stuff this guy's into, so that makes me interested in this video. It doesn't exist anymore. You have to do it in a Discord server. Here's an experience that I have every day of my life. I get my dinner. I sit down with my dinner, hunched over at my little coffee table where I eat my dinner with bad posture because I have a coffee table instead of a real table. Open up my laptop, go to YouTube. Oh, it's a bunch of the 3 types of videos YouTube shows me. I don't want to watch any of these right now. Let me scroll for 5 minutes and then give up and then click one anyway. It's sad. It sucks. It's bad.
Yeah, like a couple
videos.
That's
I
how
watched a couple of finance videos. And now I get nothing but like stock advice, and it's like nothing has changed what my plan in the past month and a half, 2 months since I first like set up my stuff. And it's like, okay, now I'm just hearing the same shit over and over again. I have made the actual actionable things that I'm going to do, and none of this advice changes what I'm going to do. Like, and it's just like I just keep getting stuff that's like not really adding information that's going to change any of my decisions because I've already learned the basics, which is all I'm going to do. And but it's like now it's just in forever in my feed of just getting like all this like economics. I mean, I guess the general economic stuff is kind of interesting, but like this stock stuff where it's like I'm just doing some
like the I don't like this, don't recommend it video,
which is good. I actually think that feature is very good because I
always forget about it though.
I got like there's like some bullshit self-help trap videos, like not even like the ones like the full bullshit ones. I'm like, yeah, this is not even scientifical. Like this is just total 100% made up bullshit, and it's just like showing up in my feed because I clicked one of them. And so now I've been having to like continuously like not interested to get this off of my feed. But at least they have that. I just do think they need to add some sort of high randomized, like in the mix, like some percentage that's like just totally out there recommendations.
YouTube has a lot of current YouTube has a lot of problems beyond just discovery. Back to the sort of conceit of like quantity over, well, preferably quality over quantity. But what YouTube currently has is quantity over quality. Because of how they promote their videos and stuff, like they want you to upload as much as possible. It benefits your channel to upload as many pieces of content as you can in a short period of time, as well as like longer
total minutes. Yeah, the more total minutes you can upload.
Yeah, the more watch time you receive. the better off you are. And that, of course, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that also means that things that are potentially like maybe shorter pieces of content, but that have like higher production, you know.
Yeah, we all know how it happened with animation on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's a lot of fucking problems with.
Yeah, YouTube really has intentionally, actively incentivized quantity over quality in exactly the way I'm complaining about it on this podcast. Like, if you can make the same video, basically, 3 times a week, your channel will do great. And there are people who do that. And there's a lot of communities on YouTube that are dedicated to, like, reacting, like, drama, making videos about the other guy who made a video about the other guy, or uploading basically the same vlog every day. You know, just hours and hours.
One of the absolute worst things about YouTube right now, and I thought this was like a bug or something when they first introduced this, and I was like thinking like, oh, surely this will change. The fact that when you subscribe to a channel, you are not guaranteed to see all of their uploads or even receive them at all. This is obviously a problem. This is a problem for both ends.
That's not a bug?
Huh?
I thought that was
a bug, yeah.
Well, if it was, I would assume it would be fixed by now, because I'm pretty sure that...
Like, it has been ongoing for quite a long time.
So they don't show up on the subscription page?
Yeah, you go to your subscription. Once in a while, a video just isn't there.
Yeah. When you like this is obviously a problem for the creator, and it's a problem for the viewer, because if you decide to subscribe to a channel, you should at least be aware of every piece of content that they release. But instead, they only feed you things that they think you'll like. It's the same as like what you were saying before. It's like they only feed you things that they think you are guaranteed to like.
So subscribing isn't even subscribing anymore.
Yeah, it's not, and it's fucking awful. Like, it's a really big problem, especially for smaller channels.
There's
no YouTube. What's up?
Like, if you click the notifications bell, do you get notifications for everything?
Because
every YouTuber is like, remember to click the bell.
Yeah,
that sounds cancer. I don't have notifications. That sounds like
I don't get notifications for anything. If my mom
everything,
that's the only thing in the world I get any sort of notification.
I have notifications for text messages, but yeah, that's it.
But basically, yeah, like YouTube wants to make the biggest channels bigger and the smallest channels, they don't give a fuck about you.
I don't think it's that. I think it's pure profit incentive. Whatever gets more views, and that ends up indirectly being big channels. It's snowball. It's indirectly making, that's the outcome, but their incentive is just more people, and the outcomes are like bigger. Big gets bigger.
Yeah,
I think it's important to clarify that they're not like masterminding trying to in most of these things. They're literally just purely doing an algorithm that's getting the most engagement, and as a side effect, these bad things happen.
Probably.
I think that's.
I realize that, but it's just so.
Probably
it's
my assumption.
Or maybe Susan YouTube is evil. I forget her name. It's probably hard to pronounce, but she's evil. Maybe can't prove it. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of tapped out. Does anybody have anything else generally on the subject?
Do we all disagree with your points? This is hardly...
Yeah, it sounds like some interesting things that would make online engagement better. All of those suggestions. So,
fund our Kickstarter for the social media site that's going to be good. Crashcontent.nt. Crashcontent.nt. We need a $34,000 vacation to collect our thoughts and decompress. Then we need $1 million to build the site.
And then we need $60 to buy all the rest of y'all Sadies.
We are geniuses. We're old. We're boomers. Some of us are boomers to be. I'm Ghandi. Let us make the site. It'll be good. In the meantime, don't use reaction GIFs. If there are Chrome extensions or whatever that make likes not exist on websites, use those. Turn off retweets for everyone you follow. Did you know you could do that? You can, and it's so much better. Stop sharing, stop liking, stop gifting. listen to me. I know, and so do the rest of us now.
But do like this video for sure.
Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you click that notifications bell. And comment. We will read your comments.
We will read your comments.
But comments were good. Comments were always good. I don't know. Like it's just the upping and downing them is the bad part. But comments in general.
On this video, and we will read it.
That's the main point.
Liking videos bad unless it's our video, in which case it's good.
We make the only good content on the internet, so follow us.
Trying to get on that snowball. All right. Well, is that it? Last chance. Jump in right now if you have anything to say. Anybody?
No.
Okay. Cool. Well, this has been the Crash Truth podcast. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Or morning or evening, whatever you're doing.